What is up, everybody? Yikes, sorry about clicking on that. I was supposed to do a live with the Aussie Gunja project, and I don't know if there was some type of confusion with the time zone, but we did not make it happen. So I'm sitting here in front of my computer. Miss you, Sasha. And so I figured I would just go live for a minute and let you guys ask me some questions. So please don't make me just sit here by myself and ask me a question. What's up, LED Seed Junkie? JM, I just said to a friend of mine that I wasn't going to discuss Jason/VA, but I will say no, we have not made up. Probably never going to happen either. What's up, Arnold? Don't be sorry. You know what? Since you asked, I'm going to ask you guys a question. One of the things, and I'm going to put this over here. I know the angle's not the best, but this was the topic of discussion. My friend said that I'm going too far with this. So let me know what you guys think. Should I stop telling people, Pound, don't call her the VA cut? What do you guys think? Oh, Wolf Siegel. I should just, okay, now Wolf, if you send me a request to be on the live, I will let you on the live because I miss talking to you. I'm sure you got 1,000,001 stories that we could talk about, and definitely want to get you on the show soon. And I want to get you to have your own show. Everybody, the Farmer in the Sky, he's a real legend of cannabis, a wealth of information. And, I'm trying to get him to do his own show. It's not that he doesn't want to do it. We just got to get him set up with the tech necessary. But if you haven't yet, please check out the podcast that I did with Wolf on the Craft Growers Network YouTube channel. Just for fun. So I have not made the shirts, and I mentioned that a friend of mine told me I'm taking this too far. And so I don't know that I'm going to make any shirts or anything like that. But let me know what you guys think. Should I stop talking about Pound, don't call her the VA cut? I think you just have to send me a request on, I think on Instagram. It's really easy. I don't know how I add somebody to a live on YouTube. If anyone could help me out with that. This is the first time I've ever done a live on YouTube. Done it, through the podcast stuff before, but never just clicked the live button. Me too, Wolf. And I did it. I called out the bad actor, and it's just a question of when do I, let it end? When do I stop with it? And I've had some people tell me that it's a bad look that I keep on going on and on about this. So, I asked my friend, it's your boy Dank over there, what he thought. And, he gave me some feedback. And, one thing I'll say is, hold on, is that Not So Dog? What's the deal with Not So Dog? He always says he will do a weekly podcast. He's really busy. He's really busy. I'm trying to get him to do some work with me, and he's got a bunch of kids and life stuff, which makes it difficult for him. I'm ready for you to join the Instagram, the Pot Geek, aka Wolf. Let me see if I can add you. Let me see. What are you on Instagram, Wolfie? There we are, the real farmer in the sky. I'm sending you an invite. You're going to save me. Okay, so I do have a story about the Grateful Dead days, and it's something that I've been considering talking about. So, man, the only thing I'm wondering about having Wolf on Instagram is that I don't know how I'm going to listen to it, because I'm listening to my YouTube stream. Does anyone know how I can invite Wolf to my YouTube stream? Because I think that's really what I need to do. Okay, so getting back to the story about Grateful Dead, I was looking at another podcast, and they had a cop talking about when he used to police Grateful Dead shows. And he was talking about how crazy it was and all this stuff, and how difficult the Deadheads could be. And he was talking about giant stadium concerts. And I will always remember a concert at the Brendan Byrne Arena, which is right next to the Giant Stadium. And it was 10/16/89, Bob Weir's birthday in 1989. And they had just played Dark Star at Hampton, Virginia. And we thought that was like a one-time special thing because they called it the Warlocks and all that. And so anyway, that night, me and my friends, let's just say we took some substances and were out of this world. And in the second set, they opened with Dark Star. And it was just magical. And they did like a Dark Star, it was Dark Star playing, back into Dark Star. They played Dark Star a couple of times and playing a couple of times. It was just some magic stuff. And so at the end of the show, we all leave, we go to our car, and we're just completely out of our minds. Between the Dark Star and the substances, we were in another land. And security was being super uptight. They wanted everybody to just get in their cars and go. They're just yelling, get in your car, get in your car. The securities are coming up to you. Hey, is this your car? You got to get in your car right now and get the hell out of here. And I'll never forget, my friend Gary looks at the security guard and says, hey, man, I'm so high right now. There's nothing you could do to get me down. And so the security guard looks at him right in the face and he says, one punch and I'll get you down. And I swear we all got in the car and we just left. Like, we shouldn't have. And if we hurt somebody or if we got arrested, like, it wasn't our fault. Like, they were literally threatening us to leave. And I'm not sure how many of you are Deadheads and been around as long as I have, but hold on, let me just shut off my notifications on my phone. But that was the set of Grateful Dead shows that the security killed somebody. His name was Adam Katz, and he was found in like high grass, on the side of the parking lots. So yeah, that's a story that I was going to tell it on that podcast where they had that cop talking. I mentioned to the people that were running the podcast that if they wanted me to tell that story, I would. So, no, the Hells Angels were not running the security. That was just really overzealous security guards from New Jersey. I'm going to shut my window because somebody's got wind chimes. It's kind of annoying. Alrighty. When I am telling a story or talking, I'm finding it a little bit hard to follow the chat. So feel free to ask a question more than once if I don't answer it. No, I did not know that ZZ Top and Velvet Underground started. Actually, I did know that Velvet Underground started as the Warlocks. I do remember hearing that. You know, Arnold, favorite calcium source for hungry chems and sours. To be honest with you, I don't really add much CalMag. I know that people think that that's the like solution for everything, but you know, I find that my plants have plenty of CalMag just using the, you know, normal fertilizer that I use. I'm currently using cutting edge louder powder, and I've switched over to Canna Start for my cuttings, and I'm actually looking to switch over to Canna Koger for my moms. I really like Canna, so I'm switching back to them. I hear you, Wolf. Calcium and magnesium are very important, but they are present in most hydroponic fertilizers. And I think that lots of people think that calcium is the solution for any of their issues. And, you know, I just don't always think you need to add more CalMag. I mean, if your plant is asking for more calcium, then, you know, give it some calcium. The most common thing that people use is calcium nitrate. What do you think, Wolfie? What's up, Sensi Miller, the Buds Collector? Thank you, everybody. How do you tell if the sour needs calcium? Okay, this is a great question. I think the best thing to do is to do testing. You know, send your leaves out for analysis. You can do that these days, and they can tell you the calcium levels and all the nutrient levels in your plants. I do recommend that what you do is that you start that testing from the beginning, you know, and then follow it through the cycle. Doing a single test isn't the best way to see what's going on with your plants. Any other questions? Okay, well, I'll just keep talking until some more questions come in. One thing that I, you know, want to say is that I'm talking to Not So Dog, and that I'm hoping that me and him can do something real soon. You know, he's a great friend that, you know, I've worked with him in the past, and we have an extensive history, and I'm hoping that that we can do something good. So it says, I know high temps will do it. Will over fertilizing cause sour to turn to hay? I think that excessive nitrogen will make your sour taste very green, which isn't what we're looking for. But it's a kind of a balance because you have to give the sour nitrogen a little bit later than you would, for instance, a strain that finishes in 8 to 9 weeks because it's a 10 to 11 week strain. Something else I'll say is that, you know, and the pot geek, aka Wolf, said use calcium sulfate if you can find it, and I think that that's a good suggestion. That's why we have them here on the show, because the thing about calcium nitrate is it's high in nitrogen, and when you give that to your plants late in flower, now you're going to have like unnecessary nitrogen that's not really beneficial. So, look for some calcium sulfate, like Wolfie said. What's my favorite chem, the 91 or the D? I'm very partial to the 91, but I should say that I've never even flowered the D because I stopped growing for a while when that came out. I shouldn't say I stopped growing, but it was a much smaller scene, and I never got the D back then. I've smoked it, and I think it's possible that the potency is higher on the D, but I really love the terp profile on the 91, and it's some of the most potent stuff ever, so the 91 is my favorite. Curtis, when your clones arrive, let me know if they're happy and healthy. Everyone, all my Instagrams besides the Craft Growers Network has been taken down. So please check me out on GabySI.com. You can message me there. Check out my inventory. With the Instagram being taken down, I'm going to have some financial shortages this month for sure. So any support that you guys can give is greatly appreciated. Also, just a reminder that I'm doing a Chem 91 giveaway. So if anyone purchases anything on my website, they get a free Chem 91. Gabby, try and get some more rooms in the Discord would drive usership. Yeah, I'm going to try to do a little bit more on Discord. I was focusing on Instagram because it was what was getting the most results. But I'm not sure if you guys follow Gene Traders, Lou, on Insta. And, I was talking with him and he told me that, Instagram and cannabis, it's kind of like a Stockholm syndrome situation where we are supporting and being attached to the company that really hates us and is hurting us and constantly putting us down. So I'm doing my best to not, support Instagram because they hate me. So that frozen lemons don't grow. Yeah, so the frozen lemons, it veges really slow. It's probably one of the slowest vegging plants I've ever seen, but it does make beautiful flowers. And the thing about it is that it's really good, let's say, if you're in a tent and you have a low ceiling, or if you're doing a multi-level grow. I really do, I do really like it. And I think it produces great flower, although it really grows slow. It's like the slowest growing plant I've ever seen. The Chem D cut that I have is currently the cut from VA. Okay. I'll be honest with you, Arnold, I haven't smoked the not so sour, but I have looked at it and it doesn't look like the sour that I know. To me, it looks more like a super skunk, which I think is fabulous. I mean, I prefer the super skunk to the sour diesel. So if it has more super skunk traits, I think that that's highly desirable and it's a beautiful cut. I do have it. I have not flowered it, and I do not distribute it because I'm waiting to make a deal with Not So Dog. Justin, I do not get a fruity smell off the sour. I'm sure that, as it grows along, you won't be smelling fruit and you'll be smelling pure sour. Jungle Method 420. There's a couple things you can do to get the 91. I just said the first thing is anyone that places an order on my site, anything you get, and you're going to get a free cut of 91. And also, I'm going to be doing a promotion on Overgrow that if you follow a link that I'm going to be sending. I'm going to be posting it on my Instagram. If you register for Overgrow and if you sign up as a supporter, I think it's like $10 a month. I'm going to give, I'm not sure if it's going to be random or the first 5 or 10 people that do that are going to get a Chem 91. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm going to be moving my promotions to Overgrow. On that note, I'm going to highly recommend that everyone go to Overgrow and set up an account and support these guys, because this is a community that is based on the plant that we love. So that's what I recommend. Everybody go to Overgrow and set up an account. My site is GABYSI.com. Chad, you said more fake cuts than legit cuts out there. I know you're not talking about me, brother. Yes, my clones are already available in Europe. We have sent clones to New Zealand. We've sent clones to UK. We've sent clones to Holland. Oh, and by the way, I know New Zealand is not Europe, but abroad. We've sent clones to Puerto Rico. So one of my goals was to get specifically the 91. I want it to be worldwide. No more gatekeeping the 91. I know you weren't talking about me, brother. Who's running Overgrow these days? I spoke to a guy, he goes by Lemon something, and he was so nice to me yesterday. I mean, he literally talked to me for 2 hours, helping me figure out how to, best use Overgrow. It's not as intuitive as Instagram or other social media. No, it's not Lemon Hoko. Let me see here. I'll go look it up. Chrome Overgrow. He goes by Lemonade Joe. Lemonade Joe. Yeah, thanks. What's Now Customs. Any other questions you guys got, or should I just blah 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 blah? Oh, something else that I'm gonna say. Trying to remember what his handle is. Oh, Mr. Spliff. Mr. Spliff on YouTube. I was talking to him, and he was, he invited me onto his podcast, and I talked to him for a while, and then I realized he did an 11-hour show, an 11-hour live, and I gave him some advice. I told him to tell his story, and he did a 2-hour live yesterday telling his story, and it was amazing, to be honest with you. I highly recommend you guys all go give him a listen and give him support. He's got a great genetic library, really extensive, and he's got, really, extensive history. So go check out his YouTube channel. So those seeds are dry, and we're going to take them out of the flower, Curtis, and we're going to do a little testing before we let them out. So in Europe, I just want to make sure that I get it right. You would think I would know this, but it's breeder's cuts. Okay, so it's, let me just get it right. I'm sorry, guys. So it's breederscuts.com or clonesonfire.com. They're the ones that help me with international stuff. Oh, 914 buds. The king of sour is John Pork. Oh, I gotta open the Instagram back up. Scrolling through your questions here. Sensi Miller says, I'm so happy with the cuts you sent, man. I appreciate you, brother. What's the conspiracy about Cornell 77 88 Tin Man? I'm not sure what the Viking is. It's ya boy. Um, honestly, I'm not growing my own flower right now. I just have the nursery. So, I'm stuck smoking what my friends are growing. I do have some friends growing the sour right now, so I'm smoking a lot of sour. And I really enjoy the P85, which is the Pluto times E85, which is a cut that we have. But yeah, I mean, my favorite's always going to be the Chem 91. Yes, seeds are coming. We were sorting some today. I have some that I made with Nick, and then some that I made with a buddy who goes by the Marshmallow Man. And so we have crosses of a bunch of my genetics that were crossed with the Black Domina. And then also um, we did some crosses with a Red Grape Lebanese. So thanks, Scott. I'm glad you're enjoying the P85. I'm not that intelligent, 914. Just trying to not look like a fool here. Let me look through some more of these questions. I would love you to send me some grandma's peach pie, Wolfie. John Pork for governor. Just make him president. What the heck? How would you know if another seed breeder used legit chem cuts? If there's a telltale sign that what I'm growing has real chem in it? Without genetic sequencing and extensive genetic sequencing, which is quite expensive, there's no way to know for sure what people are breeding with. So there's not really an answer to that. What Now Customs, he said, thank you for helping my homie Spliff. I think that's Mr. Spliff who we're talking about. He did his podcast yesterday. Check out Mr. Spliff. What is it, Mr. Spliff Cannabis? Or I'm not sure if anyone knows, but look for Mr. Spliff on YouTube. He did a great live yesterday. I recommend you guys all give him a listen and show him some love. Chad Westport's question. Is chem known to throw late herms? Is it always 50%, 10%? Are they always upper buds, or do smaller ones hide under interior buds? I think it fairly commonly throws some late herms. I'm not sure what the percentage is. I don't think it's 50%. And generally, I think it'll be on the uppers. Okay, Pierce Bell, Kemdy aside, there have been at least a few people I've heard talking about the particular sourd you have. What, if anything, do you feel separates your sourd from the others? So I've told the story before, and I don't want to tell the whole story again. But what I say and what some other people have agreed to is that the sour that I have reminds me most of the sour that I've grown for years. It's the best sour that I've seen in 10 years. So 10 years would be, 2015 or so. I'm not saying it's the best sour ever. I'm not even saying it's the best sour that exists today. I'm just saying it's the best sour that I've seen. And, I've given it to a bunch of people, including It's Your Boy Dank here. He's in the live in the comments, and I know that he loves it. He says that it's a strain that he's going to keep and grow forever. So it's just a really good sour, and I don't really know how to compare it to another sour besides, it has real sour terps. Arnold asked, do I know anything about Piff Coast? I'm seeing what everyone else is seeing online, and I've been communicating with Brian a little bit, and I don't want to get into it too much. If Brian wants to tell his story on my show, we would have him, but I don't like talking shit about people that I don't know and that I don't have firsthand information on, and like not giving him an opportunity to respond and tell his side. So, I decided that I'm not going to really talk about it, but it's pretty disappointing, to say the least. If you're Canadian, you should go to breederscuts.com. I mean, you can sign up for a username on my account, Lance, but if you want to purchase something, you're going to have to do it through Breeders' Cuts or clonesonfire.com, because Canada is international. The East Coast sour diesel is something, I'm embarrassed to say, like, I don't know, like all I know is the sour that we had out here for years. Now there's a million different sours, and they call it the East Coast sour, the West Coast sour, the Chaco sour, the not so sour. That's part of the reason why I made this video making a joke and calling it the Gaby sour, because, whether it's sour or it's not, either it has those sour terps or it doesn't. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, It's Your Boy. You have to be careful with sour because the terps are extremely volatile. And so it's not just about how dry it is, but I mean, if you dry it too much, those terps are just going to evaporate. But, it's also the temperature. You got to keep it sealed, because those terps are the reason why you can smell sour as much as you can is because the terps are volatile. And so that comes with a disadvantage too, is that it's easy to lose those terps. As far as spectrum tuning, the best person to talk to about that is the Pot Geek, aka Wolf. He's an expert on lighting. What is up, Mercury Gold Seeds and Black Wolf? Thank you guys for joining the live. We've got 82 people watching live, which is pretty cool considering this wasn't announced. It's just something that I threw together real late. So I appreciate you guys joining us, and please share it. I don't even think I put it on my Instagram that I'm doing this. I just went live. So yeah, spread the word. hit the thumbs up button, and tell your friends that I'm answering questions here. So one thing that I'd like to talk about is I just tested Canna Coco's plugs. They have new plugs. They kind of look like Rapid Rooters, Root Riots, those types of products, but they're very different. For starters, they come dry, right? And I think that they're a cocoa peat-based plug where the Rapid Rooters have a lot of other forest products in them. But wow, the roots I got on these things were incredible. I have some photos. I'm going to pause the Instagram for a second because I got to get some photos. So if you're on Instagram, just hold 1 second. Here's a little video that I made. Oops, don't want to do that. Just gonna see if you guys can see this, but that was 12 days. Normally my cuttings are rooting in about that time frame, but the roots are just so nice and healthy. Yes, I'm really excited about these plugs. I'm also using the Canna Start and the Rhizotonic, and the combination of all that's really doing a great job. So yeah, I recommend you guys all check out those Canna plugs because not only did they root really fast, they seem to take a lot less stress. Those clones look like the day that I took them. The source of the plugs is Canna. Yes, Wolfie. Go check your beans, Chad. Go check your beans. So something else that I want to talk about, if you guys are interested, is home tissue culture. You guys want me to talk about home tissue culture? Yes, I used the air pruning insert trays from Grodan, if that's what you're talking about, Wolfie. Yes to TC. Chad says yes to TC. It's Your Boy says yes, and No One Wins says yes. So we're going to talk about TC. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to do my unpaid advertising for Earl Hill. I fucking love these guys. They produce the best quality extracts, single sourced. They do the extraction themselves. It was single sourced from their own farm. And honestly, they make the best quality extracts anywhere. So love to Earl Hill. Okay, so the day is treating me good, Mr. Spliff. Mr. Spliff of Cannabis, I've been talking about you already this morning. I've been telling everybody to go check out the live that you did yesterday. So now I remember it's Mr. Spliff of Cannabis on YouTube. Everybody go check out the live he did yesterday. He started telling his stories, and it was pretty awesome. Wolfie, please send me a link to the air pruning insert you're talking about. I use the Grodan orange trays, and those elevate the plug off the ground. So those do some air pruning as well. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. Arnold, as far as describing terps, I am the wrong guy to describe terps. Yeah, I haven't learned how to do that. But what I can tell you is that I love the 91 terps. My IPM for my plants, I'm using mostly just sulfur, to be honest with you. And many of my plants have been tissue cultured. They're all going through tissue culture, but it's not complete. But yeah, the predominant thing that I use is sulfur. That Josie cut of Blue Dream does not exist. And, for some reason, I'm having a hard time taking that off of my website. I've asked the person that is helping me with it to do something here, but he's been too busy. It's the Santa Cruz cut. I was entering stuff. The Josie cut is the GG4. Let me take a sip of my water, and then we will start talking some tissue culture. I love the sticker. I love the shirt. It's going to be hard for me to let it go. I love it. I think it's funny, and I think it's necessary, but I think it might be time for me to stop. Yeah, I also, when I was using the root riots, I would flip them upside down, but these plugs are a little bit bigger, and so I don't do that. Hold on one second, okay, guys? I do not have a Chem Dog hoodie, Third Eye Blind, but I do have a Chem Dog hat. And much love and respect to the man Chem Dog himself. Yeah, calling her anything else but Chem Dog, I think, is disrespectful to him. So don't do it. The website is Gaby, GABYSI.com. And yes, to Canna Start also, yeah. I'm gonna do a side-by-side. I use Clonex Solution, is what I was using prior to the Canna Start. And I switched to the Canna Start. I started using these Canna plugs and Rhizotonic, and from a quick first glance, they're doing much better. So I am going to do a side-by-side so that I can do a more scientific study on what's best. More podcasts with me and Not So Dog are coming for sure. Alrighty. The sour diesel I found is great, but I'll let people like It's Your Boy and P-Bud and all my customers tell you what they think, because if I tell you, I have a vested interest, but when other people go and say that they really love it, I think it has much more of a impact. So check out what other people are saying about it. Don't worry about what I think. All right. So tissue culture. So excuse me. So many people think that tissue culture is something that's out of their league, something that they need to have a medical grade sanitation. It has to be so clean that they're worried about doing it. Gaby Sour times Spliff cheese. Yeah, let's do that, Mr. Spliff. So I was talking to Mr. Spliff on his podcast the other day about tissue culture, and I think I might have broken through to him where he's gonna try to get it done, and that makes me really happy because one of my goals is to inspire people to learn and to grow, to grow the plant, of course, but also to grow their knowledge and to grow as people. So I think it's exciting. It's an exciting topic, tissue culture. And first of all, before we go any further, we've got 95 people watching live on a video. Okay, Mr. Spliff of Cannabis is his YouTube channel. Go check him out. Mr. Spliff, you can leave a link in the notes. But there's 99 people watching live, which I think is pretty awesome because I didn't even like announce that I was doing this. I just pressed the go live button. And so now we've got, 100 people. I would love it if we could get like 150 people. So please, everybody, go and share this. Tell people that I'm answering all your questions. So yeah, I'd love it if you guys would share and press that thumbs up button so it shows up on more people's feed. Getting back to tissue culture. So people think like you need a clean room. And, obviously it shouldn't be filthy, right? But you don't need to have like a lab grade, room. I'm going to do tissue culture right here in this spot in my kitchen. I do have a flow hood, but I'm also going to do some just in a Rubbermaid tough box turned on its side because I want to show you guys that you can do this on a real budget. Flow hood is super nice, making sure that the air that's in front of your plants and in front of your cultures is clean so you don't contaminate it. But the first time I did it in a Rubbermaid tough box turned on its side. You wear a mask so you're not blowing stuff into the zone where you're cutting. And I mean, you can do it like that. And, you could literally do some hobby tissue culture, all the supplies, maybe a couple $100. And what's up? It's your boy. So, I'm working with a company, Mothership Labs, and we're going to be making some kits that have like all the ingredients you need to make the, solutions for growth and rooting. And it's just really easy to do it. The one thing that really helps, I mean, the flow hood really helps too, right? But a pressure cooker or an autoclave to sanitize your media. It is possible to do it in a microwave. I've never done that. I would recommend, part of your budget being get at least a pressure cooker. You can get a used one online, Facebook Marketplace. I bought my flow hood for $100 on Facebook Marketplace, and it's perfect. I was talking with, I want to call him Mr. Spliffy, but Mr. Spliff of cannabis. He lives in Washington, and I know for a fact if you go and you look on Instagram in Washington, you're going to find, flow hoods galore. A lot of people were growing mushrooms and decided to, give up on that. So they got these flow hoods sitting in the storage locker that they're, paying money for. But I kind of think you really need a pressure cooker to make the media and to sanitize some tools. I sanitize paper towels in there as well. So that's one thing. You should be able to get one for like $100, right? So that a Rubbermaid tough box, you buy some scalpels and scissors and not scissors, scalpels and forceps. And then, you could use a kitchen plate to cut on and a Rubbermaid tough box. And, we can supply you the hormones for so cheap. We'll make a kit that has everything in it. You mix that with the appropriate amount of water. You sanitize it in the pressure cooker. And then you sanitize all the vessels that you're going to put that stuff in. And you just pour it into those vessels. You can even pour it into the vessels prior to sanitization. And then sanitize the vessels that have a little bit of the solution in the bottom. And then when it comes out, it's clean. You just cap them up. Don't let them get contaminated. And that's that. So what I think is that a lot of these companies that do tissue culture want you to think that this is out of your league because that's how they make money, right? They want you to pay $1,500 to put your plant through meristem. And what I tell people is for $1,500, you could have a really nice home tissue culture set. Like I said, I bought a flow hood for $100. if you buy a pressure cooker, okay, so let's say it costs you $300 for a flow hood. Let's say you don't get as good of a deal as I do, or maybe you get a nicer one. Let's say it's $200 for a pressure cooker. That's $500. Let's say you spend $100 on a bunch of scalpels, forceps, some bleach, it just doesn't add up to that much. One thing, and I've got nothing personally against these guys, but do not buy the Athena tissue culture kit, okay? Because it doesn't come with anything. It's really expensive for a really small flow hood. It's like the smallest flow hood I have ever seen. And then they only give you a couple of things of media, so you can't even make that many cultures. For that type of money, or for the same amount of money that it would cost you to put one plant through culture, just do it yourself. Just buy that kit, or not buy that kit, buy the ingredients. We'll help you figure out what type of flow hood, would work for you, and what type of pressure cooker. We'll send you the ingredients to make the media, and do it yourself. It's really, it's not that hard. Now, philosophy time. Are you using a microscope? To do meristem tissue culture, you need a microscope, right? Nobody's eyes are that good. I recommend people start with nodal tissue culture. Nodal isn't going to remove stuff like virus, but if you learn how to do nodal tissue culture, then you can learn how to do meristem. It's really not that hard. So, I recommend everyone start with nodal. It's kind of like you have to take steps. If you go straight to meristem, it's just a little bit more advanced. So I want people to do nodal. Yes, nodal is what you do in multiplication. So for instance, let's say you start a meristem tissue culture. When it grows, then you are then doing nodal. You're dividing that growth that came off your meristem. You're just taking really small cuttings, essentially. You want to have as small of a cutting as you can with as little foliage as you can, because anything that's there is possible, it can be contaminated. So having less plant material is really the best thing. I want to encourage everyone here to, start doing some research and start considering doing tissue culture. I was talking with Mr. Spliff of cannabis, and he's got like 30, 50 genetics that he keeps in clone only. And, it's just so easy and takes such a little amount of space to put this stuff in tissue culture. So that's what, I think everybody should do. I'm going to shut off the Instagram live for 1 minute because there's only 5 people on there, but I want to look up a photo to show you guys some stuff, some cool tissue culture pictures and stuff. I sent them to Mr. Spliff yesterday. So this is, and I know it's, I'm showing you on my phone, but when you do meristem, it's that small. That's what's going in. And then, shortly after, you'll have something that looks like that. It's starting to look like a real plant. And we can take pieces of that and then continue to divide it. This was one of the first tissue culture plants I ever did, probably like 15 plus years ago. Scented geranium flowering in the jar. And this is one of my favorite photos. This is the one I want to show you. Synthetic seeds. So what is a synthetic seed? It's not actually a seed. It's more a cutting, right? So a synthetic seed is just a little tissue culture clone that we encapsulate in a gel. Kind of looks like a big piece of caviar, right? And that synthetic seed can be stored in a refrigerator for up to a year. And so, what you do is, 9 months down the line, the Pot Geek, I'm not sure how to add you to this live. We're going to have to do it another time. But much love to you, brother. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. But so the synthetic seed, you can store it in a refrigerator for up to a year. Let's say you pull it out 9 months down the line. You got hundreds of these synthetic seeds, right? And so then you just take out a few of them, you put them into the growth media for tissue culture. And when that grows, then you can take some small cuttings off of it again and put it into more synthetic seeds to store them. There's other ways to do long-term storage, but this is one of the easier ways. I want to show you another video. I'm sorry, I'm going to shut off this Instagram for a second. But this video shows you how we made the synthetic seeds. Let me just lower the volume. But in that, so that's it. That's a synthetic seed. So when you drop it from one solution to the other, it's going to make that little caviar-looking seed enclosure there. So, yeah, to me, I think it's amazing. And obviously it helps. If you start with meristem, you're going to know that your stuff is virus clean. But even if you can't do meristem, your plants your cuttings that come out of tissue culture will be cleaner than what you have if you have mother plants. So if you have mother plants, they could have powdery mildew, other insects, stuff like that. The sanitization process, when you're using bleach, it'll kill all of that stuff. So, it's easily going to take care of most of the larger pests that people know about, but it's not going to get rid of the virus. So, but so they say synthetic seeds don't have 100% survival rate, and the older they are, the fewer that will still be viable. Yeah, that's true. That's why we say that they have a shelf life of a year. And that's also why when we make synthetic seeds, we're going to make a bunch of them, right? I wouldn't make one synthetic seed to store a plant. I'm going to make hundreds of them. And out of those, I'm sure we're going to get some that make it. Also, the better that your SOPs are, the higher the success rate that you're going to get. Like Jesse, who's my mentor and partner from Mothership Labs, he gets a very high percentage success rate, and that's because his procedure is better. Tom Johnson, send me a message. You can send me a message without having an account. I'm wondering if you already have an account, and that's why it says the email is unavailable, but I can look into it when we're not on the podcast. So send me a message on the website or on the Craft Growers Network Instagram, and we'll get you set up. Thank you, JK. So lit wick, synthetic seeds, we are living in the future. So the funny thing is that this is something that's been done with regular plants for a long time. This isn't, it's not something that new, but, with cannabis, we've been a little bit behind using this technology. So, yeah, and it's definitely not the future. It's definitely the present. I want to encourage us all to do it now. Okay, JP, question. I haven't heard many people talk about tissue culture and soma clonal variation. Have you heard of people taking cuttings out of TC and having the same or different expressions? So the recipe that you use in TC is important. And if you're using too much hormones or the wrong hormones, when they come out, they can show different types of growth. So, if you do it right, you can plant the Gen 0 clone directly and flower it. But, what we like to do is we use that Gen 0 clone for mother plants. Okay, and then we grow out the Gen 1 clone. Okay, and by that time, any of those hormones that have been, ingested by the plant are gone, and then I think you get a lot less variation. This is more of a question for Jesse, which we're going to do a podcast with him in the future. But one thing I can say is that when you do tissue culture, you're preserving a plant a lot better than if you, store it for years and take clones off of clones off of clones. So. Daniel Z, I agree with you. Chad has a great podcast. I recommend that everybody also check out the Chad Westport podcast on YouTube. Check him out on Instagram. He's putting out some great information, and he's a decent guy too. So check him out. Chad Westport says he's old, but I got to be at least 10 years older than him. So that makes me really old. Alrighty, guys, hit me up with some questions so I don't end this live. I do not see the real grape ape anymore. Stay in our lane and keep on smiling. I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. P Bud Mike says just the D. What's my favorite color? I like green. Okay, this is my favorite quote of any of my podcasts ever. Wolf, aka the Pot Geek, says, "I'm older enough to have consumed cannabis in utero with Kerouac." So on my podcast, Wolfie tells the story about how his mom smoked weed with Kerouac when he was in her belly. The Super Skunk will not be available on my site. I have gotten a cut of the mass Super Skunk from a friend. I haven't grown it out yet, but he assures me that it's the real deal, and I'm going to flower it out and check it out, and I'm going to breed with it. But I promised that I wouldn't sell it, so I'm going to keep my word. I've been offered $10,000 for the cut, and I had to turn it down because I gave my word. So key factors for a nice finish on the Sour D. Thanks for your question, Seat Sniffer. I think that is a really weird name for your handle, Seat Sniffer. But the most important thing about Sour Diesel is that the terpenes are extremely volatile. So because the terpenes are volatile, you need to keep it cooler in the later weeks of flowering, particularly. If it gets too warm, all those terpenes evaporate, and you lose a lot of the nose on it. Chad, I highly recommend that you get Wolf, aka the Pot Geek, on your podcast. The guy, he's got the dope history. Wait, hold on. It says, we touched on that on the Dope History podcast we did with you a few years ago. We were in the same streets. I didn't know you did a podcast with him. Please share me the link, and everyone go check out the Chad Westport podcast that he did with Michael Wolf Siegel. I'm sure it was a one for the books. Yeah, Chad, he is a one of a kind. You notice that he said Chad back at you, but no comment about me. I'm sitting here saying how much I love him and all that, and he just says how much he respects Chad. No, it was not Mark. That's not who I meant. So we are dropping to 95 viewers. I love you, buddy. I know. Wolf says, I love you, Gabby. I can't imagine anyone you deal with not knowing how awesome you are. Tell that to my lady, bro. My lady doesn't know how awesome I am. She's constantly giving me shit like, you know, I don't do it. I don't do everything right. Not that I don't do anything right. I just don't do everything right, which is what she expects. Man, just so you guys know, all I can think about now is how much I love talking with Wolf. He has so many amazing stories. We definitely have to get him on the podcast again soon. Your wife is your biggest fan and my biggest hater. Um, I don't think my wife is my biggest fan or my biggest hater. There's one person in particular that I won't mention now because I said I wasn't going to, but I think he hates me a little bit more, maybe just a little bit more than my wife does. And you know, I have a lot of people that really show me a lot of respect, you know, for, and my lady just thinks I'm just all right, you know, so don't be sorry, buddy. Oh, are you saying Chad has beautiful hair and I do not? But Chad's head does not reflect the light as well as mine does. Oh, no worry, Arnold. I think your questions just ended up in my eyesight a little bit better. So if anyone I'm not answering, um, well, you got to send me those seeds, Wolf. Um, but yeah. So if I haven't answered your question, I'm not ignoring it. It's just hard for me to look at the camera and read the questions at the same time. So feel free to ask again if I have not answered your questions. I'll try scrolling back a little bit to see if there's anything the chem is not a good producer. It's a very difficult plant to grow and very small yield. Okay, so while I'm waiting on some more questions, and I'll scroll back to it. You know, I want to mention something that reminds me of. No, be careful about increasing the nitrogen on the chem. I wouldn't do that. It doesn't take as long as the sour. Um, you don't want it to be too green. The nutritional issues with the 91, I don't think, are based around nitrogen. It could be calcium. To be honest with you, I haven't done the testing on it, you know, with lab testing to see what it needs. What's up, Alan? Do me a favor. Go have a slice of Brothers Pizza. Get a nice Sicilian pie and burn the roof of your mouth with some Sicilian pizza from Brothers on Forest Avenue. Um, anyway, I wanted to tell you guys something. I often get, you know, people send me a message and I'm like, hey, give me your number. I call them up. That's what I do. And I've had lately people say, oh, Gabby, it's so nice to talk to you. You're a legend. And I resist and I tell them that I don't really like when people say that. And I want to explain why. It's not because I don't appreciate the gratitude and the love that people are trying to give me. But the thing about a legend is that it may not be based on facts. You know, it could just be based on stories and incomplete stuff. And, legends, to me, a legend doesn't have to be true. Like if this legendary story, it doesn't have to be true, right? And so what I want is people to get to know me. And, after they get to know me, I want them to think that I'm a good guy and that I do good business. That's the best thing that anyone could say is like, hey, I've been listening to you and you seem like a good person. And, or I've done business with you and, you did everything you could to the best of your ability. And I appreciate that. So like, I think part of it too is because like there's other people that people considered, heroes are remembered, but legends never die. There's people that the industry considers legends, right? But really, they don't know these people, right? They just know like a little story about them. Maybe they're legendary pieces of shit, So I don't know. For me, that term legend, it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to answer your question in a second, Shilbert. A legend doesn't tell you what type of person people are or what type of business they're doing. It's just like there's this little story about them that, people like to tell and it becomes, legendary. But I'd rather people think that I'm just a good guy. Chad says, be careful of who you put on a pedestal, but be appreciative of the impact that they made. That's a good point. That's really a good point. So, and like I said, I'm here. I'm not only doing this Ask Me Anything, but I want people to know who I am, and how I roll. And, then make your opinion of me, good or bad. It's probably not all going to be good, but at least it'll be based in some fact, right? So how does the Staten Island chem compare to other chems? Honestly, I don't want to rip Stony, rest in peace, but what the fuck is the Staten Island chem? Like that to me, it's just like calling it the Weasel Diesel or the Hunter Mountain Sour. I don't think either of those things exist. I think those are names that people put on another sour or the sour that they had to help them market it. And, I know the Weasel closely. He never named a cut the Weasel Diesel. And, people know that cut came off of Hunter Mountain. So I think people are just attaching the Hunter Mountain to it. But yeah, I actually get more offended when people call shit the Weasel Diesel than, when people talk about my shakes. And he just never did that. Jared Mang, I'd love to smoke with you. I've never had Karma's sour, but I hear it's fucking awesome. And so, yeah, that's that. Yeah, it's true, John. How many different like names are there for the same runts and LCGs? Oh, fuck, Third Eye. That's messed up. Calling me fresh kills. Catalan breeding. What I would say is just get the Chem 91 from me. I'm trying to send it worldwide. I'm making a bunch of seeds. I'm making a bunch of crosses with the 91. So if you need it to be seeds, we'll have stuff for you soon. But like I said, I really want to send this 91 worldwide. Okay, so this brings me up to something else. People, when they call me legendary, mostly they're talking about that drive that I took across country with the Chem 91. That's my contributions to this point with the Chem 91. And, I think I'm proud that, hey, Jack, let's send some clones of the 91 to Australia. So I'm proud of the fact that I'm part of the story, but it's just a tiny little part of the story. The real story all happened before then, with P-Bud and with Greg. They're the ones that are really responsible for this, mostly Greg. I like to give him the credit. I think what he did, popping the clone, keeping it, sharing it with the correct people, that's the stuff that, legends are made of. And that's why he's as legendary as he is. But I always tell people, if my, trying to remember the word that I use, when you talk about like what you're known for. Oh, if my legacy is that I drove the 91 across country, then I feel like I'm a loser. Like if that's all I can say is like, oh, I'm the guy that drove that cut across the country. I mean, it's cool, but it's not cool if that's all you got. And I'm so much prouder of so many other things that I've done in my life. My grocery store for over 20 years, Not So Dog used to work for me over there. And we taught so many people how to grow. And we taught OGs that had been growing outdoors forever how to grow indoors. And I'm super proud of that. That to me is something that's for sure part of my legacy, right? But the 91, just driving it across country, I just felt like that wasn't a very large contribution. So now, like what I'm doing is I'm giving the Chem 91 away. I have like a certain amount every week or month that I'm giving away. Currently, I'm trying to give one away to every single person in the US that places an order for anything on my site. They get a free 91. It's a little bit more difficult for me to do that international because I'm using breeders cuts, aka clonesonfire.com for international, and they get a chunk, so now I'm making less. So, but if you order a few clones, then I'll happily throw the 91 in there for free. So for me, being the guy that gave the 91 away to the world, being the guy that stopped gatekeeping or stopped the gatekeeping of the 91, then, that's something that I feel I could be proud of. And that could be something that could be part of my legacy that I would be proud of. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Woody J, if someone got the P85, they would get the P85 and the 91. That is correct. Anything you get on my site, and you get a copy of the 91. Marshall Mathers, how are the P85 terps? I love them. I really love them. It's purple weed that's not candy. It's more of a gas with a grape finish. So I love the P85. The P85, Clones on Fire is not me. I just use them to help me get stuff international. The P85, I'm telling people that I think this is the best commercial strain that you could grow because it grows fast, beautiful, potent, stinky, purple herb, very little leaves. I said fast, it finishes in 8 to 9 weeks, no smalls. It's just super, super nice. Easy to grow. And so like on a commercial level, really makes sense because, like I said, it checks all those boxes. And for a home grower, you know, if you're an experienced home grower and you know what you like, you know, then grow that. But if you're a new home grower, really helps to, you know, grow something that's going to be a little bit easy, you know. So like it's just great herb, easy to grow. So for new growers, it's always like my first, like they're like, oh, I really want to grow the sour. Sour's not that easy to grow. You know, if it's your first cycle, I mean, look, grow the sour, you know, like either way, you're going to be happy you grew it. But like learning how to grow with something a little bit easier, like the P85 is what I suggest. The P85 is the Pluto from Gas House times the E85 from Grandiflora Genetics. In Europe, you go to breederscuts.com or clonesonfire.com. It's the same company. And yeah, that's who I use to help me get stuff abroad. So Anthony says, I'm going to need a cut of the Super Skunk as soon as I can. So like I said earlier, I was offered $10,000 for the cut, and I had to turn it down because I gave my word that I wouldn't sell it. So I can't do it. Yes, Canada, it's the same. You go through breederscuts.com and clonesonfire.com. In the US, it's GabySI.com, GABYSI.com, Jesse. Let me see what other questions we have. Yes, and we're making a bunch of seeds right now. Obviously, they're not going to be, you know, pure Chem 91 or Super Skunk, but we just made some crosses. So announcement on that coming very soon. We're actually sorting the seeds right now and trying to figure out which of them, you know, to release first. So when does the buy one clone get the Chem 91 free start, bro? It has been going, Cento. We've been doing that now for a few months, and my goal is to keep it going as long as possible. Man in the Woods 79, have you run out all of your different 91 cuts? If so, any differences noted between them? I have not run them yet. Currently, the cut that I'm giving out is the one that most people want and think is the real one, which is the cut that VA held. I don't know, I said I wasn't going to do it, but I can't stop. So all my cuts are the same price. I sell everything for $250, including express shipping. I don't ship anything regular priority mail because it takes too long. So I've just included it in the price. Want to get you the cuts fast and safe. I want to show you guys something, so I'm going to put you on hold real fast. I'm excited about something I want to show you. Because I'm a little geek again, I guess, I get excited about like little things that have to do with my business. But so in the past, this is what I was using for the way I do clones is I'll put them in a plastic clone shipper that goes in a, priority mail box, like the small box. It's not the flat rate one. It's a little bigger than that. I think it's called a VHS box. And then that gets vacuum sealed, and I'll put it into multiple bubble envelopes. And then I put it into this, and by the way, there's ice packs in there too. And then I put it into this. And then I'll put the label on this and I ship it out in that, right? But now I just got these. And so look at the difference in the thickness. Okay. And so what this is, it's not a bubble envelope. It actually has like 1/2 inch insulation on the walls. It's like padded insulation on the walls. And yeah, so it's far more insulation. To give you an example, these cost like a little over $1 and these cost $6. Okay, so I do everything I can to make sure that the clones make it on, alive. I also, so these are like when I will just put it in these envelopes and mail it. I also make these custom insulated boxes, and these are for like a medium flat rate box. And then I also buy some coolers on Amazon that fit in a large flat rate box. And so for an added price, I do more as far as packaging, and also we can offer overnight shipping. So I do everything that I can to make it so that this clone is going to arrive to you as healthy and happy as possible. Marshall Mathers, look forward to hearing from you soon. Ridgeline Lance is pretty awesome. I'm really bad at describing terps, but it's special, and everyone that I've given to has said it's one of the best clones that I have. It's the one that won the Emerald Cup. It is a clone only from Ridgeline Farms. What is considered grow tech but is really bro science? I'm going to think about that question, but every time I look at your questions, bro, I think seats differ. That's kind of gross, bro. What grow tech is really bro science? I'm going to have to think about that one and maybe answer it later. We've got 122 people that are listening live. I said that my goal was 150. So please, everybody, share, press that thumbs up button. We have 123 people listening live and only 67 people gave me the thumbs up. Does that mean the other 60 something are on the fence? Like they're not sure if this is a bunch of trash talk or what? Please give me a thumbs up. Let's make it so that other people can find this. I'm seeing the numbers go up a little bit, so I've reached a few of you. I didn't catch you live with the wing wang the other week, where you guys were able to determine if the wing wang and the SI are the same? I'm sending him cuts. I'm going to send him cuts of my plants, and he's going to grow them out. Hey, dual sport idiot, if you have the original Super Skunk, send me some. Yeah, so we are going to figure out if the Gaby Staten Island is the wing wang. Okay, you know what? Since he brought it up, this is a way for me to talk about something while you guys ask me some more questions, which I'll get back to. So JJ made a podcast. And first of all, I have a ton of respect for the man. Okay, and his partner. Most people don't know. SI Pete is partners in Top Dog, and I've known these guys from the beginning of my cannabis cultivation history. So I have a ton of respect for him. And JJ made a podcast. He didn't call me out by name, but he made it pretty clear he was talking about me. And he said that he doesn't like people renaming the sour, and that he knows that I did it as a joke, but the joke is over. And I asked him, I was like, well, what should I do? Like, what should I do now? I'm trying to find out if it's the wing wang or if I can identify it. But, absence of being able to be sure of what it is, what should I do? Like, if you just call it sour diesel, then how does that separate it from the other 3 sour diesel cuts that I have? Actually, let's see. I have the AJ sour. I have the one that I call the original because we've had it forever. And then I have the Gaby. Now, I also have just recently acquired, and I haven't released it yet, I have the AJ sour, I think it's called the 2005 that Purple City Genetics had. And then I have the Not So Dog sour. So, like, how do I say wing wang 5 times fast? Wing wang, wing wang, wing wang, wing wang, wing wang. So how do I separate my cut from the others, right? Like, I mean, it's not my cut, but how do I separate this cut from the others? How do I let people know that it's this cut, right? And thanks, Curtis. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, that's what I want people to say. Don't tell me I'm a legend. Just say that I'm a real friend and a good guy. That's the best thing I can ask. But yeah, so what do you guys think I should do about the sour now? Wizard says, call it the Gaby cut. That's what I'm doing. Like I said, I don't know what to do now. Like, if I find out, if I give it to Wing Wang and he says, oh yeah, this is the same cut, then I can call it the Wing Wang, But I also think that, like, people giving me crap about it, it's kind of like, well, AJ, he didn't pop the seeds, he didn't breed it, he didn't do a pheno hunt. So, like, why is it the AJ? Wasn't, right? And then the Wing Wang renamed the cut because AJ started selling other cuts to Sour Diesel. He's like, that's not the Sour Diesel I have. So he called it the Wing Wang. And, there's the Choco cut, the Not So cut, 38 million different sour cuts. Call it the Sour VA. Honestly, yeah. So I called it the Gaby as a joke. But, what should I do? Like absent of, okay, so I want to do genetic sequencing. And I said I was going to do the genetic sequencing. And it turns out that it's really expensive to do it. So I don't know that I can do it on everything, so. But yeah. Hey, everybody, I've been doing this for an hour and 30 minutes, and I'm going to have to call it an end. I appreciate all you guys. Jay Green, you have the Blue Dream cut in week 4. Please send photos. Yeah, you guys know how to reach me, GabySI.com. You can also reach me on the Craft Growers Network YouTube channel. And, well, not YouTube, well, YouTube as well as Instagram channel. And yeah, it says I got 147 people, not 150 people, but that was close enough, Jody. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. And reach out to me on my website, GabySI.com, or the Craft Growers Network on YouTube. Well, while that's still up. And yeah, thanks, Marshall. Thank you, Zillanese. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this impromptu live. Everyone, go check out Mr. Spliff of Cannabis, the live that he did yesterday. I was super happy about it. So, bye, guys.